Okay. We are looking at a fantastic satellite view of the Mediterranean basin, and the zone that we are interested in primarily is there. That's Greece modern. That's modern day Greece. But in antiquity, Greek peoples moved around to lots of other zones in the Mediterranean, and the universe of Greek culture, even Greek political culture, not just stuff moving around, is a little bit wider than that. So it also includes the coast of modern-day Turkey, which is sometimes called Asia Minor, but in the Greek world is often frequently called East Greece, as if Western Turkey was a suburb, like South St. Paul. And also Greeks colonized and lived and built lots of Greek temples and did lots of Greek-style things in southern Italy and eastern Sicily. I'm a little directionally dyslexic, so when you see me do this, I'm not actually making the sign of the cross. I'm remembering what's east and what's west. So eastern Sicily. We know of this country today as Italy, but to the Greeks, this is Western Greece. There's Greece, East Greece, Western Greece, and the Greeks also colonized this place, which is the island of Cyprus, which today is Cyprus, still modern-day Cyprus, divided politically today between Greece, Greek Cyprus, and Turkish Cyprus. And I point this out because Mr. Pedley, John Pedley, will be referring quite regularly to places that are not in Greece proper, that are in Asia Minor, that are in southern Italy, every so often in Cyprus. And so just to show you the neighborhood, the Greeks actually colonized and left their mark in more places than this. Some of their colonies are here on the North African coast. Some are here in modern-day southern France, but we won't go there, so I'm not putting any little circles around it. All right, get out your map. Get out your map and some good thing to write with. We have these parts of Greece that you need to label on your map. Part number 1, Attica. I don't see you writing. It's the blue. Attica is the blue. I'll go backwards for a second so you can see its full extent. Attica is the region in which the city of Athens is. In fact, Athens is the only significant city in Attica. It's the only city of any size in Attica. The Argolid is this brick red colored protrusion in the peninsula of southern Greece, the big peninsula of southern Greece. The Argolid is named after its major city, Argos, which is on the map. And the Argolid is going to be the zone of Greece that we're going to go to first as soon as we get done with this little geographic tour. With me? Laconia is this khaki green zone in the southeastern part of southern Greece. The major city, in fact, the only city of any size for much of the Archaic and Classical periods in Laconia, is Sparta. This is where the Spartans live, hang out, Laconia. Messina. Messina is the southwestern sector. It's this purple zone. Are we good? I see a lot of heads bobbing up and down. I'll wait until I don't see as many heads bobbing up and down. Elis is the northwestern sector of the Peloponnese. This is where the site of Olympia is. In case you're wondering, the central sector of southern Greece also has a name, but you don't have any reason to need to know it, so I didn't bother to put it on here. It's Achaia, but that's okay. We're not ever going to go there, I don't think. Boeotia is orange. It's next to Attica. It's to the northwest of Attica. This map that I gave you, is it hard to write on? Yes. I'm sorry. I probably should have thought of this. Here's the thing. What I was looking for was a map that showed topography. Because the zones, they're not arbitrary and they're not artificial. They correspond to the natural topographic divisions of the region. So central mountainous areas are one zone, and then plains are another zone. So you might notice that the Argolid, for example, is where all the little lines that indicate a mountainous area stop. That area, which is all flat plains, is the Argolid. Likewise, Attica is largely, there's a plain and a coastal zone with just a few high points, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted you to be able to associate specific zones with the reason for the way they pan out, which is the natural topography. But I'm sorry if the map is hard to write on. That was the best one I could find. But let me interject to say something that I forgot to tell you before, which is that while it is true that the podcasts will not be available unless you give me a good excuse, the slides from the lectures will be readily available in both PowerPoint form and PDF form within an hour at the end of every class on the course website. So you will be able to access this map. So if you're having a hard time writing on your map, fear not. Last is this island, this long island. Well, it's not the last, second to last, is this long island, which is Euboea. The island of Euboea. And then finally, this big, pretty light blue zone. This is the area of the Aegean Sea, and you see that there are a lot of little islands all through it, and these are the Aegean Islands. They're this connecting tissue between Greece and East Greece, which is to say the shoreline of modern-day Turkey, Asia Minor. All right. The world of Greek culture, normally in a survey course, would start in around the year 1000, the beginning of the first millennium BCE. The archaeological epoch is the Iron Age. And we're going to get there on Thursday. But the Greeks themselves had a sense of history and culture and cultural unity that preceded this date and was partially derived from the world that came before the Iron Age, which was, in archaeological terms, the Bronze Age, towards the end of the second millennium. And because the places of the Bronze Age and some ideas of the events of the Bronze Age remained important and influenced lots of what comes after, we need to catch up a little bit with what the Greeks themselves knew and thought. And so we need to see what it is that came right before. So let's say the year is 1300 BCE, 1300, beginning of the 13th century BCE. We are going to take a relatively quick tour around some of the regions of Greece, looking at some of the significant archaeological remains. And as we do, I'm going to be asking you questions repeatedly. And the questions basically are going to be, if you're a visitor, say you're a visitor from the Aegean Islands, and you come to this place and you see these X, Y, and Z that I'm just about to show you, what are you going to think about the political organization, the economic organization, the social organization of the folks who live here? All right, you're looking at the Citadel of Mycenae, Mycenae. Mycenae is in the Argolid. It's in the Argolid. Do not confuse Mycenae with Messina. Messina is the region of southwestern Greece, the far southwest of Greece. That's a regional name. Sadly for you, I apologize for this, Mycenae is the name of the city, which is not in Messina. It's in the Argolid. Okay. So here's the Citadel, very, very large. Here's 1300. You are walking up to the Citadel, and even before you get there, your attention is caught by a long walkway with the walls of the walkway lined with cut ashlar stones. Ashlar stones are stones that are cut evenly on all four sides, making a smooth block. The stones are massive, so the number of stones and the way that they're laid is very impressive to you. The long walkway invites you in, and there's a monumental door, and you see a rise like a hill. And when you walk inside, it's like this. It's a huge circular structure with a dome. Comes to a rounded top. You see this person looking straight up. And these large, smooth stones go all the way up to the top. This is a tomb, a type of tomb which, from the Greek word for round, which is tholos, is called a tholos tomb. To Greeks who lived much, much later, this tomb got a name called the Treasury of Atreus. And I put it on here because when you read your assigned reading for today, which is Mr. Pedley, I think he's good. Yeah, here it is. You will see on page 93. You will see on page 93 this same tomb, and you'll see that that's what he calls a Treasury of Atreus. It's just a nickname. It's not. It's just what we call it. It's not a treasury. Doesn't belong to Atreus. Anybody who's interested in why it's called Treasury of Atreus should ask me after class. All right. So back to the year 1300. You're in the year 1300. You walked inside here. You recognize that this is a great tomb. And the tour guide who's with you says, or the friend who has come with you says, there are 9 of these, 9 tholos tombs surrounding the citadel at Mycenae. And you say, wow, that's very impressive. And then you approach closer to the Citadel of Mycenae, and you see an enormous wall built on a high piece of bedrock, and the wall is built in the same way as the Torlos Tomb, of these large, well-finished ashlar blocks. And as you approach, you see there's a monumental gate. And when you get closer, you see that that gate is comprised of 3 huge monolithic stones. And at the top is a sculpture of 2 felines. We have to assume that in the year 1300 BCE they would have had their heads. Sadly, today they do not. And they stand regally on either side of a column, which itself is raised on top of a sort of platform or high base, as if they are protective spirits, or anyway, animals, protecting the built citadel that you are about to enter. And when you walk through that gate, which is called the Lion Gate for obvious reasons, you will come all the way up to the top, the very, very top of the citadel at Mycenae, where you would be able to enter a large 3-roomed compound. This kind of large 3-roomed compound is called a megaron. There would be 2 columns. Here you see the bases for the columns. And those 2 columns center on a doorway to an anteroom and then a back room. And in the middle of the back room is a large hearth. And there are columns on 4 sides of the hearth, so that there would have been a roof over this forecourt and a roof over this anteroom and a roof over part of this, but the center part of the room would have been open to the sky, so that whatever was burned on this hearth would have, not burned down the back room of the megaron. Now, your friend turns to you and says, "What do you know of how the people who live here organize themselves? What does this tell you about the political setup and the social organization of the settlement of which this is the center and the locus of power?" And now, here, back in 2010, not 1300 BCE, you turn to somebody who's sitting near you and come up with an answer. What do you know about the political and social organization? What do you think? You just turn around. There's somebody right behind you. And if you already know the answer, don't tell. Yeah, well, then you could just talk about what you did this weekend. What doesn't make sense? What? Tell me. What doesn't make sense?
Kind of have a little idea that It just seems like there's like you go through a lot of different stuff to get to the top. So they're trying to impress something on you. There's all these tombs.
Yes. Right. Very good. That's right. Yeah, somebody's got. Okay, you in the sweatshirt. Tell me something.
We discussed that we obviously don't know what type of political system they have, but obviously there is one that's solved. They do put a main emphasis focus on center.
Yes. So there's some emphatic message about political power that such a building suggests. And so if you had to put a label on this sort of political setup, I mean, you wouldn't put a label like the kind of political setup that we have, right? We have democracy. It does not exactly look like that. What political label might you put on it? You with this nice scarf.
Well, we talked about there's probably a hierarchy of power.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know.
Because?
Well, we thought.
Oh, the rooms of the Megaron?
Right.
The Megaron is not so big as you can see. I mean, it's a single structure here. So yeah, there are three rooms, but it's not. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm thinking that you're saying something that you're not.
The other thing I thought was maybe because of the tomb,
Uh-huh.
that would imply a lot of political power.
Indeed, the tomb. That's very interesting, right? That tomb suggests also somebody of great political importance. What do you make of the fact that there are 9 such tombs? You all the way back there, long hair, pink water bottle.
So we talked a little bit with the politics kind of leading religion. More people in power.
How many people in this sort of setup can be empowered at any one time? One, probably one. So what would be the label that you would give to this? What kind of political system? Monarchy. Yeah, probably monarchy. Monarchy suggests one person in power at a time. That's what monarchy suggests. Now, the Torlos Tomb absolutely supports the idea of a connection. This is massive, very impressive. Supports the idea of a connection between the monarchy and a king being buried in that tomb. So what do 9 Torlos tombs suggest to you? All the way back there. A long-lived, a dynastic kind of a setup. Now, we don't know if, we're in the dark, literally. We don't have a historical text. We don't have the names. We don't know what the names of these kings might be. We can't know if there was a long-lived single family or the progression from one king to another was a little messier. Historical analogy suggests that might have been the case, but we don't actually know. But what we can know anyway is that whatever the relationship was between these various kings, there were many of them. This was pretty long-lived. Yeah.
Was there only one person per team?
No, thank you. No, not at all. But there weren't that many. The Torlos tombs are actually not really tombs per se, but kind of coverings for the tombs, which were cyst graves dug down in the floor of the tombs, and there were at least a few in each Torlos tomb, but not tons. It wasn't like the floor was completely dug up for tombs. All right, so it looks like a monarchy. It looks like a long-lived monarchy, and it looks like a monarchy that is interested in yes, declaring power by buildings, by fancy burials, the Lion Gate and the sculpture at the Lion Gate. Now look at your map. Messina is in the Argolid. And what might, now looking at your zone map, what might you guess about the Argolid if you only had the remains at Mycenae? What might you guess about the political organization of this region at this time, 1300 BCE?
It's a central location, so maybe capital.
Yeah, possibly. That would be a pretty logical thing to conclude, because this is such a big and important site, and because these people are clearly interested in impressing everybody that comes around, and because they obviously have money, and they obviously have the ability to co-opt labor, because, I mean, these guys didn't build this stuff themselves, that's for sure. So you might guess that that is the kind of capital, in a way, of this region, of the Argolid. Maybe 30 kilometers away to the south east. In the Argolid is this site, Terrans. You're looking at an aerial view of the Citadel and a plan. If you take your hour and a half, 2 hour, or whatever, stroll from Mycenae, and you get here, this is the site that you see. Here are the walls. Massive stones, so large that it might seem as if giants put them together. This kind of masonry, Pedley refers specifically to it in his book, is called Cyclopean, from the Greek mythological character the Cyclops, the great big bad dude in the Odyssey who almost kills Odysseus, and he eats people, and he's a complete barbarian. But he's gigantic, and these kind of walls, the Greeks called Cyclopean masonry, because it seemed to later Greeks looking at this that only creatures like Cyclops could have built them, not men. They were so big. I mean, you see some folks walking along here for scale. You're up here on the top of the Citadel at Terrans, and looky here. Now, you turn to your friend and you say, wait a minute, could I just please go back? I would like to revise something that I thought about the political organization of the Argolid right now. What would you like to revise about it? I'll pick on you again. You're not sure. You're confused. That's pretty reasonable.
There could be a lot of different kings
So it looks as if, it certainly looks as if from a place this size, this monumental, that while all the other conclusions that you made are likely true, it's a king, it's a dynasty, they're strong, they have a lot of power, they don't have necessarily as broad a reach as all of that. That, in fact, there are kind of fiefdoms. And each one of these guys has a certain amount of autonomy and power within his fiefdom, but his fiefdom doesn't necessarily extend to such an enormous area. But you might think something else. These structures are practically identical. That's weird, huh? So what might that lead you to think? Now you can have a short chat. Oh, yeah?
Still see the screen pretty well.
That's
Just
good.
the font is a little small from this angle.
Uh-huh.
Other than that, I don't think it should be a problem.
People might. We'll see on Thursday if people. I don't understand who would ever have two laptops. All right, what do you think?
There has to be some kind of communication, most likely, between the two different locations. And, wait, what was the question again?
What's up with this? That they have the exact same form. So they are practically the exact same form. So there must be some sort of communication. Absolutely, there must be some sort of communication. Certainly. What else? A little bit more. Communication alone would not account for this.
An actual established culture that goes all the way through, but people absolutely communicate and for whatever reason these are used, share something like agriculture or beliefs or religion or whatever it is, all the way through.
Yeah, this is not just communication. It's almost like an alliance. It's shared ideas. It's a shared approach to organizing your power and to projecting your power. It's a shared political, if this is in fact a political building. We don't actually know that for sure. You don't know that for sure right now. I would say we know that. It's a shared approach to some significant aspect of the organization of the peoples whose leaders lived on these citadels and used these megara. Let's go to another zone, Laconia. Here we are, looking at the nice plain of Laconia from a hilltop, looking at the extremely unimpressive modern city of Sparta. Sorry, Sparta. But the territory around Sparta, very nice. Sparta itself, very not nice. But the surrounding mountains, the Taygetus range, fantastic. I took this picture. And there is a structure from also the year 1300 BCE. You've now traveled down to Laconia. And it's called the Menelaon. And you see what remains of that structure right now. It was excavated in the early part of the 20th century. And here's a piece of the plan. And you can recognize, I think by now, that the central part of the plan is a megaron, just like the megara at Mycenae and Terrans. And not too far from the Menelaon, there is a less visually impressive now, but was probably pretty impressive then, Torlos Tomb, big Torlos Tomb, near a village called Vapheo. And unlike a lot of the Torlos tombs that have been found in Greece, this one, although it too had been robbed in antiquity, hadn't been completely robbed. The robbers had missed one of the burials. Because the burials in the Torlos tombs were underground, were cist graves, if it wasn't completely obvious from something on the surface that there was a burial there, you could miss it if you were a robber, that is to say. And these folks did so. Quite a few swell things came out of the Vapheo Tholos, 2 gold cups, and this is one of something like 60 amber beads and signet rings. This one is carved with a griffin, so that's very cool. So, what do you now think about the area of Laconia vis-a-vis the Argolid? What do you think? You all the way in the back in the white t-shirt.
I guess that they might be.
Oh, because of these finds? Oh, there were absolutely, certainly I say without having any actual evidence of this, but still I'm so certain, that originally there were such things in the Torlos tombs near Messina. They were all robbed.
I'd also say they share similar.
They share the same building plan, architectural information, cultural information, and so probably political organization. I mean, because that Megaron building, that little citadel, that single structure, again the same, the projection of power via one of these magnificent huge tombs, all of those show that whoever the prince slash king slash lord slash duke, whatever you want to call this person who's in charge here, is part of this same web of culture. So they are distinct political centers, but they are linked culturally, all these folks. All right, we've seen the Argolid, and we've seen Laconia. Up here, what's this region? Yes, Boeotia. Right. Up here, there are 3 sites that have both palatial compounds and Torlos tombs. I'll just show you quickly one of them. The Torlos at Orchomenos. You see these folks standing up against the wall here, giving you a nice sense of scale. And if you would walk in today, you would be dwarfed by the enormous lintel block of the doorway of this largest of the Torlos tombs at Orchomenos in Boeotia. And so you would know, looking now at your map, that this shared political organization and culture, these separate fiefdoms of power, extended this far north as well. So Argolid, Laconia, Boeotia, and what region is this? Messina. Messina has a lot of shoreline, and the largest center in the Bronze Age was a town called Pylos. There's a harbor. This is its cute little harbor today. There are lots of Torlos tombs, some of them much smaller and actually less impressive, also because they were built even earlier than the Torlos tombs in the Argolid, and so the folks here were just getting started, and then the technique for building them improved. So there are lots of Torlos tombs around Pylos, and on this hill there was discovered, beginning in 1939 by the American excavator Carl Blagan, another one of these palatial compounds. And you see the excavators in 1939 clearing the hearth that was in the back room of that Megaron. And here's that hearth now, today, and here are a couple people crouching at the beginning of, or the entranceway of this enormous palace that was founded. Pano Anglianos is the modern name of the town, and Pylos is the ancient name. So there's the Megaron, the plan of the Megaron of the palace at Pylos, and just for some reason, in case you have not now really crammed this into your head, that these things really all are kind of almost identical. Here you go. Terrans, Pylos, Messina. You can see that they are slightly different from one to the other. And the Messina Megaron, you see there's something on the side here at Terrans and Pylos. This is depressions in the floor, 4 depressions that would have been able to support a large chair. Or you might think something like a throne. Although I point out to you that the throne is not on the axis of the Megaron. It's to one side. And the reason that we don't have one at Mycenae is because this half of the Megaron fell off the edge of the cliff. So probably they had one, but we don't have it anymore. So that's why it's not drawn on here. All right. So the palatial compound at Pylos is the largest, is the best preserved of all of the palatial compounds. I mean, its extent across the site is the best preserved. I think we can assume that there were such subsidiary structures and additional structures for any of the palatial compounds at any of the other sites. We just don't happen to have them. But so the Pylos site it looks the most impressive. And you see the central megaron here with lots of rooms around it and then subsidiary structures around that. All of these sites shared, in addition to architecture, central megaron, Torlos tombs, the political organization, they shared administrative practices. How do we know? Well, we actually have texts. We have texts mostly from Pylos, but some of these texts have been found at all of the other of these sites. The texts are written in a script, really weird script, that is called Linear B. Okay, I'll tell you why it's called Linear B, because that's a stupid name for a script, so you're probably thinking, why does it have that name? Back in the early part of the 20th century, a British archaeologist excavating on Crete, on the island of Crete, Sir Arthur Evans, found tablets with a weird script, not this script, a different script. And the tablets, you see how this is like your grade school notebooks where there are lines that have been incised first in the tablet so that when you write, you'll write on the lines. You won't make your lines go all wiggly. So nobody could read this stuff that he found. And so he called the script, since nobody knew what it was, Linear A, because it was the first thing like that was found, and because everything was written in lines. Linear A still hasn't been deciphered. But anyway, 30 years later, some of these tablets got found. They're also written in lines, but A was already taken. So it's called Linear B. Linear B has been deciphered, and some of you already know what the answer is to what the language is, but for those of you who don't, this will be a suspenseful moment. I will not tell you yet. I will not tell you what the language is, but I will tell you what these tablets say. They are real boring. They talk only about administrative needs. They say things like, so-and-so brought 4 sheep, and we gave 6 jars of oil to so-and-so, and so-and-so turned in his 18 hides, and that kind of thing. They talk about collecting the items, implements for making furniture and chariots and horse fittings, and for bringing in agricultural produce, oil and grapes and grain, and on and on and on. And there are hundreds of these things, and that's all they talk about. So, the tablets are only found in the palaces. And they are essentially busybody economic records, INSEE administrative documents. There's no soaring poetry inside the Linear B tablets. No. And Linear B, the script, and this form of using the script, recording on tablets, and the content of these tablets, these boring, administrative, obsessively detailed records. I mean, sometimes there will be a tablet that will talk about somebody bringing in one thing, one sheep. You would not think it would be worth it to record this on a tablet. Tells you a couple things about the way the economies of these separate fiefdoms were structured. And what is that? Have a little chat. Oh, it's, yeah.
Usually like a lot of younger students are ones that are just like almost taking it just to get by or whatever. So they're really not interested in enthusiastic. It's nice to hear like sharing.
Yeah, it is nice. I recognize a lot of faces. About half of these are,
Oh, majors?
no, are students who took like my intro class last semester. I had 100 kids in there, so. Yeah. All right. Who's somebody I can poke at? You with that cap on your head. I know this is what's going to happen. Everybody's going to start coming in with nothing that allows me to point at them. No caps, no scarves, no sweatshirts with easy for me to read all the way back your letters. Okay, what do you think?
If I had to say, probably either training support or cities.
Yeah, they're absolutely records. The records are not usually about other places. They're for people who clearly live either in the area of the palace compound or in the area around, in the towns in the vicinity of the palace compound. It's it's not exactly tax because it's not consistent, it's not universal, and it's very, each record is a record in and of itself. It's not like, okay, this was your 10%, or this was your annual or your monthly or your whatever. This was regular. They're irregular. So tax is something that's regular.
But the idea is that wealth is being accumulated by the central power.
Yes, wealth is being accumulated by the central power. That's right. And the central power is kind of in charge of the way that the economy works. A lot of stuff comes in. It's sort of centralized that way. You don't read about too much stuff going out. Inside a few of the rooms at the palace at Pylos, some of the rooms that were surrounding the Megaron were unbelievable quantities of, especially drinking vessels. You see all of these drinking vessels up here. In one room alone, there were almost 3,000 drinking vessels found. That's a party, eh? The kind of pottery which you see, this is the case in the museum at Pylos of stuff that was just found from one of these small rooms. The shapes of the vessels, the kind of drinking cups, the kind of perfume jars, these sorts of shapes are the same at all of these palatial sites. So here, for example, this kind of cup is called a kylix. I am sorry to tell you that Greek forms plurals in a different way than English forms plurals. And regularly, if I remember, I'll write them down on here, but anyway, just to say. So you have a bunch of kylixes. Kylixes, plural of kylix. Kylixes? Kylix. This is from a village site in the Argolid, and these are from Attica. And you see that the shape is the same. It's like if you go to a Starbucks in California, and you go to a Starbucks in Missouri, and you go to a Starbucks in Vermont, and you can get the same sort of mug in each, you say. Or it doesn't have to be a commercial establishment. It could be somebody's house. You know, there is a cultural similarity across the way. And if you go to somebody's house in India, you will not find, one of these oversized big latte mugs or whatever in their cupboard, probably. And so even that, it's not just the big architecture, it's not just the big tombs, it's not just the linear B tablets, it's even the small stuff. So it's not just the political organization, it's not just the organization on high, it's the lifestyle down low. That is also shared. That's what these similar shapes of something as everyday as a drinking vessel tells you. Perfume vessels, the same. These are this weird kind of perfume jar from late Bronze Age Greece. They're called stirrup jars. You see, they're really funny. This is solid. This is solid here, and then the little spout is here. So you would insert 2 fingers through those handles. You would put your thumb over this middle part, and then you would turn it over. So that's why they have that weird setup. Very funny, very cute, buoyant designs. This is from a site in the Argolid. This is from a site in Attica. This is from a site in the Aegean Islands. These are not imports. They're made in each of these locations. And so, again, like the cups, what this tells you is similar cultural world, similar cultural universe. Also, the decoration. Same approach to decoration. This happens to be, I guess, an octopus. You can see, I think, this is an octopus, right? You can see his Google eyes. This is all of it. And here's another one. And here's another one. They're very cute. The octopi on the stirrup jars are very cute. One last item of similarity. This excavation of one of the rooms at the Palace of Pylos. There's a bunch of things lying face down on the floor here, and they are frescoes, wall paintings. This is one of them. The wall paintings from the palaces are very interesting, not only because they had wall paintings, but for the subject matter. Because at site after site, in these palatial compounds, the most important figures in all the wall paintings are women. So here are fragments from Pylos. And this is especially an important lady because she's got some kind of crown on her head. And here you see somebody from one of the rooms of the Citadel at Messina and somebody from Terrans. So another aspect of the social organization totally shared. These centers of power are powerful, but they are linked. All right, we will continue with this on Thursday.